I'm Will Jackson, community ambassador, man of the people, a true advocate for us, underserved. My job, my mission in life is to get us to the point where we're no longer having the wealth gap conversation. Get us to the point where we're standing in the gap on behalf of each other, ensuring that we're the best version of ourselves, transforming our landscape. When I think about love, respect, and honor, they all have the one thing in common, which is honesty. And so when you love something, you're honest with it. When you respect something, you're honest with it. When you honor something, you're honest with it. So just taking a step back, it's be honest with your feelings. When you're not honest with your feelings, how can you say things? And then also when I look at all three of those, I also look at behavior, because it's not just words. You can tell me and sell me anything, but I'm gonna back it up with your behavior. I'm gonna look at your behavior, because if your words and your actions aren't aligning, then what are we doing, right? How true is it? If you don't believe it, if you don't know who you are, how can you love anything else if you don't love yourself? If you don't know who you are, how can you respect anything else if you don't respect yourself? And if you don't know who you are, how can you honor anything when you don't honor yourself? And it goes back to actions. It's a learned behavior, but it's also tapping into truly getting to know who you are. If you truly get to know who you are, then when you're giving and receiving love, you know how to accept it, because you know who you are internally. You've done the work.
Okay.
And so that's where it all goes back to honesty. Being honest with who you are, your limitations, right? Your expectations. When you know who you are and you've done the work, that's where the truth comes out. So I think some of the examples that I've had when someone who's showing me, I think one for sure, my parents, definitely. My parents, my sons, my siblings, of course, right? But I think when I think about from a career perspective, I never forget, I had the opportunity of presenting or introducing our chief diversity officer and our president and CEO, right? And I remember I wrote this long introduction speech and I took it to one of my mentors. And when I handed it to her, I was excited because, I was eloquent with that pen, right? It was on. I'm like, whoa, this is my best work. This is my magnum opus. And so I remember handing it to her and she tore it up. And I'm like, wait. What are you doing? She says to me, you don't need this. I need you to speak from your heart. And at that moment, although I was a little angry, because I'm like, why would you tear it up? I thought about what she was doing. Speak from your heart, good or bad, right? The truth comes from here. So that right there changed my trajectory. So when I have opportunities to speak, the work that I do, I speak the truth and I speak from my heart. Now, don't get me wrong, you need to have parameters around things, and you should, but I speak from my heart, and that was a game changer for me, because I don't have to think about what I'm gonna say when it's coming from my heart, because it's the truth. And I think sometimes we get caught up in what society wants us to say and being politically correct. The truth is the truth, no matter where it comes from. And so that was a trigger for me, changing the trajectory of my personal and professional career. I love, honor, and respect her, because what she did, we talked about the mirror earlier. She let me see me. And it was an opportunity for me to really, really bring Will Jackson to life, because I spoke truth from that point on. I didn't understand it at the time, but since then, I spoke my truth. And in speaking my truth, it draws folks in and they want to hear what you have to say. And me speaking my truth is my superpower. So I love, honor, and respect her. So a lesson that I learned when we talk about love, honor, and respect. I happen to be dealing with a young lady. I loved her. I really loved her, but I fronted because I was worried about the noise outside. And so because of that, I acted out in a manner in which that betrayed my feelings. We talk about knowing who you are. I think we have to be honest with our feelings and not front. Now, don't get me wrong. I will say it's because I'm young. It was because I was young. But the truth of the matter is, I was fronting, right? I was worried about what other people thought opposed to caring about what I thought. I put their feelings above mine. And because of that, there was a loss of love. Now, it's not a regret that I have, but when I take a step back and look at those things, I could have acted differently. And from that point on, I have been true to my feelings, whether good, bad, or the other. I'm going to follow my heart, regardless of the noise, because this is about my life, not the noise that's outside of it, because there's always going to be noise. So if you portray yourself, how can you be true to anything if you're not true to yourself first? Either you're going to have the pain of regret or the pain of growth. You have a choice in it. So I choose the pain of growth opposed to regret. And so when I ran back into the young lady, I did apologize to her. Like, you know what? Of course, the macho thing, I was young. I didn't really know, blah, blah, blah. But I'm at a point in my life where we talked about honesty. This whole conversation is going to be based on being honest. And honest with yourself first and foremost. And then honest with everyone around you. Because it's an honor to have people who confide in you. It's an honor to be in the space of individuals. So when you're in that space, you can't waste time. You have to be honest. Emerson said, how much of human life is lost in waiting? So it's about, with that, we're not waiting. We're going to be honest. We're going to be true to what we feel. Even if there's a possibility of you getting your feelings hurt, it's okay, because then you can walk away. Hey, I did my best, right? I gave my truth. Whether you align with someone or not, I'm giving you my truth. The work that I do. I focus on Black business and women entrepreneurship for Northern California. And so having conversations with our people, first and foremost, when it comes down to finances, the memo wasn't distributed evenly. And most of us didn't get it at all, right? But it's about letting them know exactly what the roadmap is, what the requirements are. Not give them blowing smoke, so to speak, and giving unrealistic expectations. It's really about having conversations about, hey, this is what the requirements are. From that, once you understand what the requirements are, now there's an accountability on your part to do something, right? You can't just say, I didn't know, now you know. So now let's do something about it. So it's the same thing, letting them know, I'm not here to sell anyone products or services. My job is to establish trust in the community, because I'm from the community. I know what it feels like to have more month at the end of your money. I know what it feels like to have challenge credit, but I also know what this side feels like, right? And so my job is to be completely transparent on what the requirements are. Here is what we look at, because the ultimate goal is to get to the point to where we're no longer having the wealth gap conversation. We've been having this conversation for years. So everybody's not going to get it. You're not going to be able to save everybody, but those that want to be the best version of themselves, those are the ones you stand in the gap for. Those are the ones, the information is here. We're giving the information, and it's out of love. It's not malicious. It's about, hey, listen, no other time in history have financial institutions been really, really focused on certain demographic, especially the Black community. And so now we're here, we provide you the information, but then that's the accountability, and that's where the love comes in. I love you enough to tell you, hey, listen, you say you want to do this, here's the roadmap. Now I have to hold you accountable, because now I can lead you to the water, but if you're not going to drink it, what else do you expect me to do? So I think it's about going back and being really honest and transparent about what we're trying to do and understanding what their end game looks like. And again, providing that roadmap of them getting there. My desire for us as a community is to unify. 98% of our problems could be solved if there were unity, if we had the unity in our community. We have to stop looking at what we can acquire from each other and start pooling our resources and start having conversations about what that end game looks like and really practice group economics. We're operating in silos, and as long as we continue to operate in silos, we're not going to have enough to make a dent. We're not going to have enough to change the narrative. And so, but if we stand in the gap and start having real conversations with each other, we'll realize that the missing piece to your puzzle is standing next to you. So my hope is that we realize we all have value. And to be completely honest, let's stop eating each other while everyone else eat off of us. That's my hope, is that we see each other as a unit, right? Henry Ford said that if we're all moving forward together, then the success will take care of itself. So let's move in unison. Let's set common goals before we start disputing our differences, and not dispute our differences before we set common goals. Because when that happens, nothing gets done. So I would just like to see us not look at each other as enemies and look at each other as family. I mean, it's just as important as 4th of July. That's why we celebrate Juneteenth. It's our independence. But more importantly, let's not operate when we celebrate it, but it's beyond the celebration. It should be a time in which we come together under the banner of family and friendship and moving our community forward. What they went through, what our ancestors went through, is nothing to be trifled with. It's nothing to, we just celebrate. And I think the meaning of what Juneteenth is, it's not really highlighted. It's beyond we're having barbecues. It's beyond, it's a day off work. It's beyond the symbolism. Let's get to the substance of it. And it's who we are as a people, our resilience. We plowed through our pain to get to this point. And so I think we need to think about it differently and move accordingly. Yeah, so the bank does honor Juneteenth, and they should. As I mentioned, the work that we do, working for a financial institution, I will say this. I've been in the banking industry over 2 decades. And so working for a financial institution that really cares and not is here really to check the box, really cares about the community, I wouldn't be in my role if the organization I work for was checking the box. They care about it. They're intentional and deliberate about getting to the point where we're no longer having the wealth gap conversation. It's about providing that roadmap to uplift the community, change the trajectory and the narrative of the community. And that's why I'm in my role. So they honor it. And it's not just from a symbolism perspective. It's we care about the community. We care about the internal community first. How are our employees feeling? What do they need? Are we really here stepping up and showing out for them? And they are. And because of that, the community benefits. I would say the time where I felt unseen and experiencing racism is when, and I know it's cliche because you hear it a lot. I remember, not gonna say the employer, but I remember jumping on the elevator, and it was just me and this young lady, and she was Caucasian. And everything about her, she didn't say anything, but her whole aura was fear. It was really in the corner, not really, didn't speak. And anybody that knows me knows I got a big personality. I speak to everybody. Hey, how you doing? You that's me. And it was, what I received from her was, I can't wait to get off of this elevator, right? And not until some of them see you as safe, because I had another interaction with this young lady. And it was, oh, hey, and act like that incident never took place. And so for me, I was like, now you deem me as safe because I was validated by someone else who looks like you. So for me, it was, although we've come so far, we still got so far to go, and we still have a lot of work to do. But I think also us as a people, as I mentioned, being unified, that's our strength. If we're unified, we will change the trajectory of this country. We will change infrastructure. We will change these companies because they know if you mess with one, you mess with all. And so when we're operating in silos, and then they find someone, you can have a perspective on something, and someone else can have a perspective, and they will go find someone who has an opposing view of what it is, and they stick a microphone and a camera in your face. And from that point, now you have two different viewpoints, and it gets angry sometimes because we start going at one another publicly. Now, we can all agree to disagree. We can have disagreements, all of those things. But what happens is when we do it publicly, we become a public spectacle for everyone else. My dad and I will go to the movies, and it's something I do now to this day. I'll go sit in the movies all day. And I remember when we were young, we would go to the movies, and that was our thing, going to the movies. And to this day, the only time I'll drink a Coca-Cola is when I'm at the movies. Because when we would go to the movies, getting popcorn and a Coca-Cola was our thing. And so, Chinese movies, just everything, karate movies, just everything. Like, that was our thing, the movies. My father's a great cook, so, him cooking, I remember him being in the kitchen, and the joy that it brought him because he was providing for his family. And, it's just a wonderful thing, just a man of his word, not perfect, but just a man, a real man's man, never complaining, never creasing, just got up and got it done. And that's what I remember. That's what I remember of my father. To this day, I talk to my dad every day, still to this day. And the wisdom hasn't ceased. He's constantly dropping jewels, constantly. And his message never wavered. As I mentioned earlier, we talk about truth and being honest. He has been honest my entire life. Not perfect, but honest. It's been a journey. Being a father, 17 years old, still a child myself. I have a son. 11 months later, I have another son. And so, not as a kid myself, not really understanding what this responsibility is, but I know I got one. I know I have a responsibility now. And my life needs to change because I'm not just responsible for me any longer. I'm responsible for two lives. So fatherhood is scary, exciting, makes you angry, because kids can take you places no one else can. And it's only because we've been their age. They haven't been ours. So we want nothing but the best from them. So the pitfalls that we see, we want to shield them from it. But we also, in that same vein, we have to let them grow up and figure it out. And sometimes they're going to have to bump their head. There's going to have to be some bruises. And as a parent, it's crippling because you like, man, if you would just listen, things would be a lot better. But being a father is the best thing going, especially now, because we can have real conversations about life, manhood, expectations, and just being a man of your word and doing what you say you're gonna do and get it done. And so it's a wonderful thing because I've grown. When I was 17, I was a different person. I would just say for everyone who is potentially going through something and feeling like, man, my life is done, I just want to say, listen, in the midst of everything that you may be facing right now, I need you to trust the wait. I need you to embrace the uncertainty, truly enjoy the beauty of becoming you, and know when nothing is certain, anything is possible because you represent prosperity. Hey, good people. This is Will Jackson. I'm happy to be sitting here representing Juneteenth. Make sure you all come out, celebrate with us beyond just the food and the music, but really, really immerse ourselves in the culture and learn something. It's really an opportunity to really, really understand who we are as a people. And don't get me wrong, please partake in the food, support the local businesses, the vendors, but come out and celebrate with us. And I also want to say, happy Father's Day to my dad. I love you, man. I thank you for who you are in my life. I thank you for the lessons that you've given me. I couldn't have a better example. Thank you for the roadmap.